Today we have a 2010 Subaru Outback with a 3.6 liter engine, and we are going to be replacing the left front, the driver's side CV axle, because the boot is ripped and torn, and it's been like that for over a year, and so there's no saving that axle. It just makes more economical sense to just replace the entire axle assembly instead of just putting a new boot. Now, I'm also going to be replacing the output shaft seal or axle seal at the same time. And there's also a bunch of work to be done on this vehicle. So I'm going to be doing a few things on it. Welcome back to the Moose Mobile Auto Repair channel. And so there's going to be multiple parts on this vehicle. There's a couple of rear wheel bearings to be done on this. The customer just wants to do the one that's really bad. And there's also a few other things. So I'm just going to be doing 2 or 3 parts on this vehicle, and just going from there. So now we are just going to pull off the driver's side wheel. So I notice here that there's a hole in the subframe here. So I talked about this to the customer already, and they don't want to fix it. They just want to keep this vehicle for maybe like another year or something, and then they want to get rid of it. So I already discussed to the customer about the subframe and stuff. They just want to fix a few things on this, and that's it. They don't want to do the subframe. And you can see here the control arm bushings are separating here and cracked. You might not be able to see that on camera, but yeah, there's bad tears and cracks here. So anyhow, so here's the axle here. It's ripped open. So here's the axle here. It's ripped wide open. All the grease has leaked out, and water has gotten in, and dirt has got in. So we are going to be replacing it. Look here, this control arm is completely separated and teared open. Extremely bad. So this is a 32 millimeter 6-point axle nut. Now it's the axle nut is staked, but I'm just going to remove it anyways, because this axle is going in the garbage. So I don't really care about damaging the threads on this. There it is. You want to make sure this axle is able to move freely. Now sometimes you can use like a drift chisel or punch or an air hammer to push this. In some worst case scenarios, this could be seized into the hub. You may need to apply some heat, but if you end up applying too much heat and destroying the wheel bearing, then you will need to replace the wheel bearing and or a hub assembly, and the axle at the same time. So now we're going to remove the cotter pin on where the lower ball joint is. You may not be able to take it out. So if it breaks, it's okay. It doesn't matter. You can just use a socket, hammer the socket on, and then take it off. So we have a 19 millimeter here. Number 19. That's out. We just need to grab something to pop this out, and we're gonna try to get the remainder of the cotter pin out first. So you can use like a punch or drift chisel, or you can use like a drill to drill it out if you want. This is just destroying the punch, so that's no good. So we're just going to use the drill to drill this out. Trying to make myself a nice mark and hole. Just trying to clear the way here. Broke the bit in there now. Great. This one is lifetime warranty by Mac Tools. And this is why I don't like using the very small and tiny drill bits, because they often break. Anyhow, I made myself a hole in there, but it's not all the way through. I might need to hammer the rest out, maybe. I don't often do this, but you see where this one goes. So now I'm just using a pick to get the other end of the cotter pin out. You can see the other end. Try and get the other piece out here. You can see the pick now coming through the other side. So now I'm going to be using a special tool by CTA Tools comes in a pack of 4. This one is M12 by 1.25. The part number is 7395. So I'm just going to install this onto the stud of the ball joint. Trying to turn it as much as possible so that I'll be able to get this out and not damage the threads on this. So now I'm able to turn this with a wrench so that I don't damage the threads. So now we're just going to pop this out with the air hammer. Just trying to pop it out now. It's free now. This is turning at the same time. So you want to push down. Turn this. So we're just going to use a 22 socket and a pry bar to get the tool off. There you go. It's out. So now we'll be able to get the control arm out of the way off of the ball joint. Might have to get some leverage, longer pry bar to get this out. So we're just going to use a long pry bar to get this guy out here. Hopefully it won't slip. Camera is in the way here. So I barely got it out. The pry bar slipped. There's usually a trick here to get these out, to get these out and in, but because the camera was in the way, can't quite show you guys. So anyways, it's free now. So we're just going to get the axle out of here now, out of the hub. So now I'm just using a specialty axle popper tool. I'm not sure if this is going to work. Just put it in between here. I don't know if this is a good camera angle, so it's very hard to film here. So I'm trying my best. So I'm just going to pop it out and use a hammer to on the bottom here. And tap the axle out. Make sure you grab yourself a drain pan to catch any of the differential fluid. So we're just going to pop this thing out now. And we see that the axle is free now. See that the axle will pop out now. So we're just going to have to get it out. A little bit of differential fluid will come out. So no fluid came out in this case, so you don't need to worry about putting anything in. Just double check the fluid level. So here's the old axle here. It's all ripped here. So now you want to compare the old axle with the new axle. Make sure everything is the same. And the ABS tone ring is here. Make sure it's not loose or anything. Make sure that the splines are the same and everything is the same. So now I'm using a camshaft and crankshaft seal tool kit. You can also use this for axle seals as well. Just you can tap here with the hammer. So we are going to remove the old seal and install the new one. So we are going to remove the old seal here using an axle seal removal tool. Might be hard to get some leverage here. Now it's a bit hard to get the seal out from underneath there, so I'm just gonna try from here. See if I have some more leverage room here. It should be easier this way. Here you go. sure you get the seal out. And don't forget they call this a Gartner spring. So make sure you take that out. Make sure you compare the old seal and the new seal. Just make sure that they are identically the same. So what I like to do is I like to use a little bit of the petroleum jelly just to put it around the seal here in the back and then the inside lip. So that way I don't damage the seal as I'm tapping this in. Now petroleum jelly is safe to use because it's petroleum based, so it will just dissolve with the in this case the differential fluid, so it will not do any harm. So I won't be able to show everything here on camera because there's not much room here, so I'm just going to leave the camera where it is now and tap in the seal. You can see that some of the differential fluid has started to leak out now. So whatever amount of fluid leaks out, you'll need to put the same amount back in. So I just need to clean up the area here a tiny bit before I put the new seal in. Now the first thing you want to do is just try to get the seal in by hand first, just to get it to seat it in before you top it in with the tool. So I got the axle seal in. So what I did is I just use a 1/4 inch extensions, and I just I lightly tapped all around here evenly, very lightly. You don't want to tap hard, otherwise that's going to damage the seal. And so you want to feel around with your fingers all around the differential case on where the lip is. And so you want to feel and make sure it's straight, and then that's it, and you're all good to go. So now I'm just going to wash down the hub here with some brake cleaner. Now I'm just going to put a little bit of the petroleum jelly on the splines and on the axle here, on where it's going to go inside the differential. This is fine and safe to use because again it's petroleum based, so it will not do any harm. It will just dissolve with the fluid, in this case the differential. So the gear oil, it will just dissolve in the gear oil. It will not do any harm. Now we're going to put a little bit of the wheel bearing grease inside here, inside the hub. We're going to put some on the outer part of the axle as well. We're going to install the axle now inside the differential. Once you get this straight, you just need to push it in after that, and it should be able to go in. There we go. Just gotta make sure it's straight so you're able to get it in. So now I just need to line up the ball joint in order to get the axle all the way in here. So now going to install the nut for the lower ball joint. I have to remove the caliper off to give me some more leverage because the caliper was getting in the way, so I wasn't able to get the stud back in. So we're going to reinstall this. I already hand tightened just the axle nut here. I'm just going to tighten up the brake rotor so I can put the caliper back on. I'm just going to clean the brake rotor a little bit. So we are just going to temporarily tighten up the axle nut. So we are going to tighten up the lower ball joint now. To get a pry bar to hold the ball joint in so it doesn't spin. So I'm just using a bottle jack just to hold the control arm in place so I can get the castle nut in. Just to hold the tension so the castle nut can go in. So I ran into an issue here with the ball joint threads. I'm not sure if I may have damaged them or not, but I'm running a thread chaser through here. So hopefully I'll be able to save them, because I really don't want to replace the ball joint because there isn't anything wrong with it. So the thread pitch for this is an M12 by 1.25. So I did order a ball joint, but I didn't want to put a ball joint in. I just needed a new castle nut like this. So just wanted to see if this works, hopefully. The issue is I don't want to add any more labor time to the customer. So this customer just wants to fix on what's broken. So I kind of have to improvise here. So off camera, I repaired the threads here at the bottom here. I'm gonna try to get the stud, the ball joint stud, back into the control arm, and I'm gonna see if I can keep on fixing the threads further up here. I kind of repaired the bottom here now, so I'm gonna try to fix here if I'm able to, and just go from there. And hopefully I won't over tighten it this time. I did have some issues with the threads earlier, so we'll see on what happens. Now, unfortunately, these kind of problems and issues, it comes with the territory with this job. So sometimes you may run into these kind of problems. So at the same time, you have to be careful. And at the same time, these issues still do happen, even if you're careful. So you just have to try your best. So I found an easier way to get the ball joint in. What I did is use a pry bar like this. I put it on an angle here, not exactly flat down, but otherwise it's going to slip. Somehow I got it in like this, and I push down here as much as I can. The issue is the caliper, it gets in the way sometimes, so if you need to remove the caliper, you can. Earlier I removed the caliper. This time around I left the caliper on, so it just takes a little bit of practice and playing around, I push down here. You can also push down here as well, but sometimes it slips down here. So I'm gonna continue to try to repair the threads here as much as possible so I can get the new nut on tight. Once again, this is an M12 by 1.25. I have to grab myself a ratchet. So every 2 turns, you back off about half a turn or so. Now, I kind of knew I was going to run into some sort of a problem here. So that's what happens when you live in the Rust Belt. Always some sort of an issue. So the stud is turning at the same time now. So I just need to support the suspension here with a bottle jack, or you can use a regular jack just to give it some tension. Starting to feel a little bit of resistance here. Back this up. We're going to back this off now, all the way. I changed my gloves around maybe half a dozen times or so. Hopefully I'm not exaggerating there. So the threads look a lot better now than they were. You can see a little bit of the metal here. I just need to clean it up. So I just saved myself a good ball joint because there isn't anything wrong with that, with this one. Clean that up. I think that looks not too bad. So we are going to tighten up and not over torque it. You can see the threads there now. They look a lot better now. Now I'm gonna install the new castle nut. Goes in smoothly, no issues. I think I'm going to probably hand tighten this one because I don't want any problems. I'm going to tighten this up now. I still have pressure applied to the ball joint stud. It's already torqued down. 29 seems pretty low for these kind of nuts. I don't know why, as to why they put it that much. I'll verify the torque specifications again just to be sure, and then that will be it. Probably need to tighten it a little bit more just to line up the hole here. So I'm able to fit the cotter pin. According to automotive service information, they say to not back off the castle nut. So once you tighten it to the specified torque, if the hole is still not lined up, so you can put the cotter pin in, and it says to tighten it up a tiny bit so you're able to line up the hole. Do not loosen the nut. Just keep on tightening it up until the hole is lined up, and then you'll be able to put a cotter pin. So the torque spec for the castle nut is 28.8 foot-pounds, rounded to 29, and then it said you need to turn this 60 degrees until it lines up with the hole. So I probably have to turn it one more step down over here for 60 degrees, and then I should be okay after that. So we're just going to turn this a tiny bit more. Just to line up with the hole. You should be okay after that. I have the cotter pin here. You can apply grease if you want so that it doesn't seize up in the future. We're going to install the cotter pin now. You can do it by hand if you want. It doesn't really matter. Trying to bend this up like a pro. However way you want it. We can relieve the tension on the suspension here, control arm. You can double check your work by prying down on the control arm, making sure everything is okay. Just pry here, make sure everything is tight and there's no play or movement. You may need to adjust the backing plate, make sure it's not rubbing against the rotor. So the torque spec for the axle nut is 162 foot-pounds. So you just insert a chisel or punch or whatever you want, screwdriver. So now we are going to stake the axle nut after you're done with the torquing. It should be all good to go. You don't have to kill the guy on this, just as long as it's staked to prevent the axle nut for moving, and then you should be all good to go now. So just clean up the brake rotor, make sure everything is tight, and double check your work. Top up the differential with gear oil if you lost any gear oil, and then you should be all good to go. So now the axle is all in and everything is all done and tight. I did run into some problems, but I fixed it, and so now we are going to continue to do some of the other jobs in the next part, and and we'll go from there. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please don't forget to give it a like, and please consider subscribing to my channel if you're not already a subscriber, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day and take care.